Hi Gemini, I'm EllaAradia and welcome to your August 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Gemini air signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is that there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Gemini signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Gemini, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Gemini, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see what the universe shows me. I'm feeling there is a big invitation this month around reinventing yourself somehow, stepping into a new version of yourself. And it feels like many of you have been, trying out new things, kind of dipping your toe into different things, seeing if it resonates, seeing if it's something you like. You may have been learning a new skill. And it does feel to me like a moment has come here to really start to ground some of these new things into reality, whether that's, ideas, inspirations, whatever that is for you, because it does feel like your energy is a little bit scattered right now, and it is a moment, I feel, where it might be time to choose a path here. There's an invitation to, step into a new version of yourself somehow. And what I feel in your recent past is the collapse of something. Something has broken down, something completed itself, which has created space in your life for you to really focus on yourself moving forwards. Particularly around, I feel, career or, life goals, something like that. What lies in your overall energy is the Queen of Wands. An invitation, I feel, to reclaim your power, shine your light, and really, I feel, follow your heart, follow your truth moving forwards. What lies in your recent past, Justice. I feel like there is a situation in the past. Now, this might relate to love. It can also relate to a career situation where there may be some kind of legalities involved in this. Some of you might be going through a divorce or some kind of legal situation with somebody. Can also relate to business as well, but Justice is, very often a card for me around soul contracts, karmic situations of some kind, where, sometimes we have these soul agreements to, have a certain experience with somebody, because it feels to me like there has been some kind of breaking down of something. For those of you that this relates to love, it feels like some kind of, long-term connection here that has, really started to, I feel, kind of fall apart in some way. And I do feel like, it's a very challenging time. I feel like you're in a moment of a transition somehow, where you're still perhaps navigating this situation, or it's recently in your past. And it does feel very challenging emotionally, I feel, for you. Justice is an energy of fairness, balance. And, that is an energy which does come in to cut through a situation, to really bring about that balance. But sometimes that can be something really quite challenging, especially for those of you where it may involve the loss of a business or a project or a person in your life where things have kind of taken a turn in sort of various different legal ways that can be very challenging. Your current energies is the Three of Wands. This is where you're standing right now, Gemini. And looking at what else is out there for you, what is possible. Definitely feel like there's been some lessons of boundaries in your past as well, because there's an invitation here around, it's not just reinventing yourself, it's also about showing up differently emotionally and putting boundaries in place, not settling for less in some way in terms of equal investment, needs being met, this kind of mutual reciprocal commitment, whether that is in love or, a job that came to a close or a project or whatever that is for you. Definitely lessons in kind of standing in your truth, boundaries, and whatever has come to a close, whatever has broken down or you felt that you needed to walk away from, it's brought you to this point of, possibility, potential, like the figure on the card, looking out on the horizon there at what is possible for you moving forwards. And this is the energy I'm feeling, I feel like it's taken a lot to get to this point as well. This is also a card of moving out of your comfort zone. So, that may have been, walking away from something, somebody that you may have had deep feelings for, but somehow, your happiness has been at stake here. And sometimes it is a moment for two people to take a different path. Doesn't mean it's always easy. That's the energies I'm kind of picking up from this Three of Wands there. It's you moving out of your comfort zone. You've had to find a lot of courage to do that. Some of you may have been, trying out new things, learning new skills, and it definitely feels like it's a moment to, practice some of this. And sometimes there can be fear around that because, we might feel like we don't have the experience yet and things like that. But, really the only way to get that experience is to start doing it and take a step. That's what I'm feeling there from that card. The only way to get better and get that experience is to do it. But it's definitely a moment, I feel, around making a choice, and the kind of choice which is something that's going to really bring you that long-term stability and happiness. So it's about making a grounded choice, because there is a little bit of a scattered energy about you. I feel like you have been, having new experiences, trying new things, and now it's time to have perhaps a clearer direction and focus moving forwards. Your feelings towards your situation is the Fool, a new beginning, a new chapter. And sometimes this is something which does require a leap of faith. It may require you to, just let your heart lead moving forwards, even if you can't see the destination just yet. Because the Fool is the first card in the Major Arcana, and it represents a whole new chapter for you, a whole new phase in life. And it's all about approaching that with openness and curiosity. Sometimes we can fear the unknown a little bit, but just always remember that there is always a higher intelligence inside of you that is leading you forwards. Your soul is always guiding you forwards. And it's just about, I feel, trusting what is unfolding, where you stand now, and just trusting your heart to kind of lead you forwards, and embracing perhaps the future, with curiosity rather than fear. In the challenge, we have the Queen of Pentacles. I feel like there's some strong energies here around lessons in self-worth and value. And this is the invitation here. You're being called to show up differently, to reinvent yourself somehow. And to do that is going to require that you really know your worth and value moving forwards. It's all about looking after your needs, nurturing yourself, doing what feels right for you, and really investing in you moving forwards. That's what this situation that has come to a close has really created space for. It's a moment of, self-discovery and experiencing more in life, and really working towards, I feel, something that's going to bring you that long-term, abundance and happiness here. The hidden influence is the Seven of Wands. And sometimes this is a card of someone who is guarded, but it's also an energy of standing in your truth, especially when there has been challenges around you, adversity, something like that. This is about you standing in your truth moving forwards. Because what I feel like this is a long-term connection in the past, and it just feels to me that somebody stopped kind of reciprocating. Somebody stopped, investing in you the way you were still investing in them. Somebody stopped putting the effort in, and it feels like this energy of, kind of drifting apart, and you feeling like, you're not being seen, your needs are not being met, and feeling unappreciated. Can also relate to career as well. Something you were putting in, you are not getting back from this. And sometimes, justice comes in and does really bring about change. But it's usually, a moment where, fairness and balance is restored for you. So this is about standing in your truth moving forwards. What's coming in for you is options, possibilities. And this is what I was seeing for you there, exploring new things, different potentials, different possibilities. And now it's time to make a choice. So the clouds around the cups sometimes represent illusions. And so the caution of that card here, Gemini, is to make sure that, all these different ideas and things that you have been exploring, make sure they don't stay just as inspirations. It's about making a choice now and really grounding something into reality here, and making sure, like I said before, that you're making a choice which really can bring you what you want here for the long term. So this is where you're at now, a lot of possibilities in front of you, a lot of different options and possibilities, whether that's in love or career or whatever that is for you. In your guidance, we have the Three of Cups, which is all about getting yourself out there, connecting to others. This is a strong card of community and being around people who really lift your spirits and support you. Healthy connections, building that strong network around you. Because these are three cups which are shared, and the people around you, we're sharing that energy with the ones closest to us, and it is about, I feel, making sure that you've got supportive people around you moving forwards. And if this does relate to love and you are recently single, that's just an invitation, when the time feels right, to kind of get yourself out there a little bit more, perhaps, dating or new activities, however that looks for you. It's about connecting to other people. And, in business, it could be about networking for you and, just making yourself known, creating connections, things like that, when the time's right. But for now, it's about making a choice moving forward and really looking at, what are you putting your energies into moving forwards? Because I do feel, this challenging situation, it does feel to me that it is about to kind of draw to a close. In your outcome, we have the Tower. So there's a lot of energies of transition and change here. And, you know, it can be a challenging card, which is what I'm feeling for you. But in the outcome, you know, what is happening here is whatever is collapsing is actually making way for something more real, something more aligned for you. And it really is about just allowing what is, you know, not really working for you to complete, to crumble, to fall apart. You know, it's all about not trying to cling to the past here, because how you embrace this moment is really, really important as to how you come out the other side. Because, you know, with that in your outcome, it is an invitation to, you know, put things back together in a different way. And it's always an energy which clears the path for something more aligned and something that is, you know, built on strong foundations and something that's more aligned with your truth. So if you can just hold that in your mind, you know, it's a challenging time, a lot of change, a lot of fears coming up, a lot of courage that you're having to find moving forwards. But I do feel like you're doing all the right things. Now it's time to take another step and just trust what's unfolding. Because even though it's challenging, just hold that in a part in your mind as you're going through all of this. As I do feel it's leading you, you know, to something better in your life, to someone better for some of you. So Gemini, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.